This is a very dangerous level for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been dropping below the 50 weekly moving average this morning, and we have seen quite a big dip to the downside. Most of my Bitcoin limit orders are now filled, and I will give a big update on my trading positions in this update video. But also a lot more, like the most important Bitcoin charts and levels we are currently looking at, the upcoming dead cross for Bitcoin, which now could happen any moment here, and much more. So let's discuss exactly that within today's update video. But not before you come over to the channel, subscribe to the channel, watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then we can dive into the most important content. Since this is a very dangerous level for Bitcoin, we have been dropping below the 50 weekly moving average at a pace we have not seen before. We've not seen this entire bull market, so that is why this is quite worrisome, I must honestly say. Now, Bitcoin is retesting a support level from all the way back here in 2024, then the tariffs lows, and now once again this major dump. And it seems like Bitcoin is indeed finding some support in that zone. And the best case scenario for Bitcoin here is going to be a bounce back, and indeed at the end of the week another close above the 50 weekly moving average, because once we are going to close below this level, then we are also doing something we've not seen before this entire bull market. And that is not going to be my confirmation of the bear market getting started, because I think it could then still be a major fake out, but 2 weekly closes for me is going to be enough to say that indeed a bear market is going to get started. But we could still bounce back up here and reclaim the 50 weekly moving average. That is of course going to be the best case scenario for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now indeed trading in a very interesting zone, where my first limit order at the 98k level got filled, which is basically the top side of this region. We are now trading in a zone where historically a lot of volume has been building up, so I think the bulls are going to be protecting this zone quite aggressively here. But if we are going to drop lower than this zone, I think we can drop quite quickly further to the downside, and that is indeed going to be a big indication a bear market might be getting started. So this is indeed a very important Bitcoin bouncing zone, also corresponding with this major support level from Bitcoin from all the way back in 2024. So here we have a lot of important levels. Also the yearly open, which is around the 93k level, and that's also my last Bitcoin limit order. If Bitcoin is going to drop low from there, you're probably going to close most of my trading positions and take a loss, but I still think there's a high chance that Bitcoin is going to be bouncing back higher from off this exact zone. Just looking at the volume, the yearly open support, a lot of interesting levels there, but indeed once you're going to lose those levels, it is going to look very bad for Bitcoin. So let's see about exactly that. Also, we do have a dead cross incoming. It could be flashing in like the next 1 to 2 days, I would say, depending on how aggressively Bitcoin remains to be dumping to the downside. All of the other dead crosses did correspond with a major bottom for Bitcoin in the market, so that could be the case once again. But on the other side, on the other hand, we do know that all of the dead crosses at the end of the bull market years, the post-halving years, basically the end of the 4-year cycles, do also correspond with the start of a major bear market. So we have quite some interesting signals here, and I think if Bitcoin is going to continue to see more downside, this dead cross is not going to be in bottom once again, and could be somewhat of a confirmation that the 4-year cycle is over. On the other hand, if Bitcoin is going to see a bounce, and we can be bouncing back, and we can be making new all-time highs, for example, then we can quite clearly say that the 4-year cycle is going to be broken, in my opinion, because then we are doing something significantly different than what we have seen in 2014, 2017, and 2021. So let's see about exactly that. Also, a big update on this Bitcoin falling wedge, which has about a 17% chance to break to the top side and a 30% chance to break to the downside. It seems like that's happening now, but for Bitcoin, we could still be bouncing back into the falling wedge, and you can see the start of the wick here. You can still break back into the wedge and see a bullish breakout to the top side. So for this, the daily candle here today is going to be a very important one, because you do see sometimes you have some wick periods below the falling wedge pattern. But yeah, it is not looking that good, I must honestly say. But indeed, we are bouncing back a little bit now, which is looking quite good, and also almost back into the falling wedge, I would say, here at the 97k level now. So Bitcoin is starting to bounce, and that is looking quite good. Just back into the falling wedge, and we could still see a breakout. Then you're looking at the range low reclaim, the mid-range reclaim, and the range high reclaim. And for my trading positions, I'm targeting minimum mid-range and maximum range highs, but I think the mid-range is going to be a little bit more realistic at the current moment if we can see a breakout back into the falling wedge, guys, because otherwise it it might change. I will keep you guys up to date, also in the private Telegram channel. Here I have been updating all morning about everything I saw on the market. For example, this chart I just showed over here. I already shared it in the private TG group this morning. So if you do want more updates in real time, make sure to also come over to the private VIP Telegram. With the link in the description on this update video, there you can find the link to the private VIP Telegram channel. So make sure to come and join there also. Bitcoin stablecoin reserve ratio of the stablecoin supply ratio is now coming back ever so slightly. This is also a quite an interesting level and also a dangerous level, because now we are slowly falling into somewhat of a bear market territory. So that is not looking that good, but we could still see a reversal here. And on-chain, the on-chain data is imminently showing that indeed a lot of people are now leaving the market, swapping their crypto into stablecoins, taking losses on their trading positions mostly. That is what's happening now, and it is even more aggressively than what we have seen during these tariffs here in 2024. It is the most aggressive profit taking, or basically loss taking, since 2024 here at the beginning of the year. So quite interesting data to see playing out there, and you do want to see a reversal in the near future here for Bitcoin to remain bullish in my opinion. Now I do want to give a big update on my Bitcoin trading position, because today the 98k order also got filled for Bitcoin. Of course all of the trades are in a loss now, but that doesn't matter that much for me, because I do have very low liquidation prices, because I do also trade low leverage positions with 5x positions here. And I still think the game plan is perfectly playing out, because of course you do want your limit orders to get filled to even make a profit, for example. That's now happening. I still have the 93k order open for the yearly open support. So let's see about exactly that. Like stated earlier, I think these levels are going to be very important for Bitcoin and could be the deciding factor to see where we are bouncing or dropping next from off here. If Bitcoin is going to see a bounce, I think it's going to be in that cat bounce towards the mid-range level I showed earlier on exactly this chart from off the falling wedge, or it is indeed going to be a successful falling wedge breakout to the range highs, because indeed the falling wedge is always targeting the top side of the wedge itself, and then you are looking into potential new all-time highs, but most definitely new range highs for Bitcoin. So that breakout or breakdown from the falling wedge is going to be a deciding factor for Bitcoin, I personally think. So we have the mid-range levels and new all-time high levels basically targeting for the Bitcoin trading position. Might seem or might sound a little bit weird now that I'm still targeting those levels, but that is eventually what you're opening these trading positions for. And I do want to be greedy when others are fearful, which is currently the case, because a lot of people are very fearful on the markets right now. That's where I do want to be opening my trades. I do know they are very risky trades because the ending of the 4-year cycle, but I would just keep you guys up to date here on the channel on the trading positions. We might take a loss, we might have a very big win. Let's see about exactly that. And now I do want to discuss my Ethereum trading positions and my limit orders, which just not got filled here. It's probably going to happen, but let's see about exactly that. And of course the most important Ethereum charts here. So let's dive into my trading position first, because unfortunately on Lbank, on some other exchanges we did drop below the 3.1k level. On Lbank we did not, so unfortunately I did not get filled on my first limit orders. I would just keep them open because I think there's a high chance that we are going to hit those levels at some moment. On the Ethereum chart, it's now looking like this. We are now back at this ultimate low here we saw during the major liquidation event and after, for example. Now we are back below the range low. We could still see a reclaim from here, I personally think, but if we are going to drop lower, this is the only level where we have some historical data points for Ethereum in this major move higher, and otherwise you are looking into the range high levels, I personally think here. So we could see a drop into this red box for Ethereum and then a bounce back up, for example, and that is exactly aligning with my limit orders up to the 2.8k levels and a little bit higher in the red zone indeed. So let's see about exactly that. I think this is going to be a possible scenario for Ethereum. If we are going to be bouncing back from the current levels, it's also fine because I do have one Ethereum trading position open. And if you do want to join me on these positions, make sure to come over to Lbank, because here you can trade Ethereum but also a lot of other altcoin pairs. And right now you can still claim a 50% deposit bonus and a generous refund. Your deposit bonus is going to be up to 2.5k and your generous refund up to 5k. So make sure to come and check it out if you're getting interested in that. And I do want to highlight that I personally think, of course, it's in no way financial advice, but you do want to be longing levels like this at ultimate support and not at resistance. So this is going to be an interesting moment to claim an offer like this, where you can increase your position size a little bit because of the bonuses you can currently claim. So make sure to come over to the link in the description on this update video to claim your 50% deposit bonus, to claim your generous refund, and also a free $100 US dollar voucher. Make sure to come and check it out. Back to the Ethereum charts, we are now retesting the 50 weekly moving average trend line, where we saw a major bounce from last time. So let's see if we can be bouncing from off this level once again. I think for Ethereum, just like it is for Bitcoin, it is going to be a very interesting and very important level to be bouncing from off here, to be closing the weekly above. So Ethereum is currently holding above, which is looking good, but you do most definitely want to see Ethereum holding above the 50 weekly moving average and making the close above it. And if we can be holding here, and if my thesis for Bitcoin is going to be playing out, like I explained earlier in the update video with all the charts, I think for Ethereum we still have a move high left in the tank to the 1.6.8 in the second Fibonacci levels. These are going to be my most bullish scenarios for Ethereum, topping out between the 5 and 6k levels. And I also think that it's only going to be possible if my Bitcoin thesis is going to play out, my Bitcoin trading position. Then we might see high Ethereum price also. That's of course what I'm preparing for with my Ethereum trading position. All of these Fibonacci levels have been perfectly playing out for us this entire cycle. And what I do find quite funny is that at the 4k level, at the first Fibonacci level, I did take a lot of profits on my Ethereum holdings. And since then, I have been not that exposed to the markets actually. And that is why I find it funny that so many people were making fun of me for taking profits there. And now they are taking profits at much lower prices because they were not prepared for what could happen here in the crypto markets. So very interesting to see. I'm quite happy I did take some profits there, or most of my profits on my Ethereum spot holdings. And like I always state in the videos, in a fallback or retest of the reaccumulation phase in these range high levels, the 1, the 0.8 and the 0.6.8 Fibonacci levels, between those regions I was always going to be taking an Ethereum long positions. That's exactly what we have been doing. So congratulations if you have been watching the channel over the last few months. I think we have been nailing the Ethereum move back to the top side, and let's see if we can do it once again with our Ethereum trading position here. But also a lesson of course is that you don't want to be too greedy. Once you're in some profits, it's always a good idea to take some profits, like I did at the 4k level, for example. Then I do want to end the video with the fact that I still think that in 2026 we have a high chance of QE going to get started. December the 1st we have, for example, QT ending, and normally we see a start of QE follow after that, and we are starting to see the first signals in the market that this might be a very realistic scenario to indeed happen. So let's see. I think that is going to be a big reason for me that if Bitcoin is going to bounce and if Ethereum can be moving higher, we could still see an outperformance period for altcoins. Maybe not, because you guys must understand, if Ethereum is just going to drop lower here and if I'm going to get liquidated or hit my stop losses on my trades, of course, then we are probably not going to see an altcoin season once again, because we need to see Bitcoin and Ethereum pumping. That's very logical, I personally think, this, but I do want to clarify it here in the end of the video. And guys, that was it for today's video also. If you did enjoy today's update video, make sure to come over to the channel, subscribe and watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then I will see you guys within my next update video tomorrow.